On Another Level Book Club presents OAL Arthur's Babble. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here with you.
Thank you so much for having me, Sharon. I appreciate you.
Hey, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Gift to an author or any author is to read the book and leave a review.
Hi, I'm Leandra Simone.
Good evening. Welcome to On Another Level Book Club, Arthur Babble, where we're getting up close and personal with author Ben Burgess, author of Defining Moments. Ben, welcome, and thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you guys for having me.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your background.
I've written 8 books. I'm a father, father first. I'm an NYPD detective.
Okay.
A bachelor's degree in business management. I have a master's degree in educational leadership. I was in the Air Force. I'm a jack of all trades and a master of none.
I see. NYPD detective, huh? You guys got a lot going on in New York at this time. Well, I think now it's Texas' turn to take that crisis on.
Oh.
So talk to us. When did you first realize you wanted to be a writer?
When I was in 8th grade, I had a assignment by my English teacher. She wanted us to write a poem about something we loved,
Uh-huh.
and I wrote a poem about basketball. And she loved the poem, and she said, "You know what? You got a real talent for this, and you need to stick with this." So
Mhm.
she, one day I want you to write a book, and I want you to dedicate one of your poems to me. So I did. In 2008, I wrote my first poetry book called Times Have Changed and Life is Strange. Fun fact,
Okay.
that's a lyric from a Wu-Tang song. And I like it so much that I titled that book that. Uh, but by the first book that really made me want to become a writer, I would say is
Mhm.
Richard Wright's Native Son. Um,
Love Richard Wright.
that book is everything to me. So
Mhm.
when I read that book, I wanted to have the same type of impact how that book had on me. I wanted to have that type of impact on someone else. So that book I would say is the foundation of what made me want to be a writer. And the next book I read that had a similar type of impact on me was Eric Jerome Dickey's Milk in My Coffee.
Okay.
So those two authors are the real reasons why I'm a author now.
Okay. Interesting. So let's talk about defining moments. That's the book we're spotlighting this week. Tell us, can you give us a little synopsis of the book without giving too much away?
Um, it's about two lawyers who are faced with racially charged cases that affect their personal lives.
Hmm.
Um, so it's told from 4 perspectives so that you can see it from every side.
And when did you write this book?
I originally wrote the book in 2017.
Interesting. Okay. So just FYI, guys, I don't want to give too much away, but I will say I have read the book, and I will just tell you it is a book to have in your hand right now during these times. So let's just talk about some issues that's relatable at this current time with what's going on in society when it comes to race relations. One of the things that caught my interest in the book is just the preconceived notion that um, a lot of African American women have about seeing mixed couples, okay, interracial couples. Um, what is your experience when it comes to interracial couples? Have you ever dated outside your race? And what is your experience with the negativity that you can get being in an interracial relationship?
Well, the mother of my children is white.
Okay.
So if you read the book and a lot of it seems really like, wow, this sounds very realistic, most likely
Yeah.
because it is.
Okay.
I like to take lemons and make lemonade. So I use real personal experiences and put it in the book.
Okay. There was a lot of hostility and intimidation throughout the book, especially when it came to family members, different sides of the family members. How did that impact your relationship with your children's mom and also your actual family? Did you have any negativity from your own family members when being in a relationship with a woman of the opposite race or
Um,
race?
well, well, my mother, my parents, and my family, like we talk. So my mother knows that she is everything to me. My mother is the strongest woman in the world to me. So she knows that it had nothing to do with race when it came to the mother of my children.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was just, I guess, what you could say, circumstantial. Like that's how fate had it. But my mother is everything to me. My mother has a doctorate. My mother was working 3 jobs and trying to take care of me. My mother is the pillar of strength for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And with my family, if they had questions, they asked, and I'm open and honest. So I don't think they really had a problem. Is it funny sometimes? Yeah, because like the first movie that my grandmother wanted to watch with the mother of my children was The Help. So it was a little awkward.
Uh-huh.
But like um we're pretty open people, so
Mm-hmm.
we
And I
don't.
think that communication is going to be is key.
Yeah, I
Okay, another
agree.
thing that came out throughout the book, and it's something that a lot of people may not believe in, but reverse racism. You know, I know right now with the tension that's going on in America, with the recent death of so many of our Black brothers, but in our everyday life, what are your thoughts when it comes to reverse racism, and is there such thing as reverse racism?
I don't really know if I would call it reverse racism. I know, like sometimes we're a lot of us are frustrated of what's going on, and we lash out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because of that, like we might lash out, but I wouldn't call it reverse racism. Can we be prejudiced? Sure, but I don't think I would call it racism. Like
Okay.
I think that there's what's going on is that we're angry, we're scared, and these things are boiling over to the top and causing us to lash out. And we have every reason to be that way. Society hasn't totally been fair when it came to us, and right now, I think we're trying, like not us as a people, but I think society is trying to put a band-aid on a bullet wound, and they're rushing to correct certain things, but it's not addressing the real problem. What I mean is that um, we want to take down the monuments. We want to take Aunt Jemima and things off of syrup and stuff like that. And I 100% get it. But the real thing, what I really want, is I want a business loan. It's nice that you want to take down a statue. That's cool, but give me a business loan. Let me get property. Let me move into a certain neighborhood. I don't want
48.
to be on a boardroom. Yeah, let me do something. So that's how I look at it.
Okay. So you say you wouldn't call it racism or reverse racism, but prejudice. So from your perspective, what is the difference between prejudice and racism?
Well, prejudice is having certain views on people, and racism is just judging the whole race. So, like, I'll give you an example. Like, you could see a blonde-haired, blue-eyed person, and you'd be like, "Oh, that's a valley girl. She doesn't know anything." Or you could just look at a group of white people and say, "Oh, I'm sure they all hate black people." That's the difference. Like, one is me looking at that one person and looking at their appearance and thinking they're one way, and looking at a whole group of them and saying they're all that way.
Good, good, good. Okay. So let's talk about it. And I don't want to put you in an uncomfortable situation. I know in the book, one of the main characters was a police officer, and just on the job. A lot of times you want to be careful with what you let out there when it comes to your personal life, because you don't know how you're going to be judged and how it may affect your career if the wrong person judged you accordingly. Have you had an experience on your job when it comes to your personal life, your personal choices?
Um, no, for the most part, I would say it's been pretty good. People on the job have been receptive, and they understand what I'm trying to do, and
Mm-hmm.
some people like it, some people don't. To me, it doesn't really matter because I'm doing what I need to do for me and my family and for my people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I always look at it.
So, as a father, as an author, detective, and I think prior to us coming on live, we talked about your crazy hours. How do you balance life? How do you balance life?
Well, if you want something, you make the time. Um, is it hard? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But I need, like, for me, it's very important to be there with my kids. So for if I'm writing, I'm sometimes I'm trying to multitask. Like, they're like, "Daddy, let's watch this movie," and I'm like, "Okay," and I have the laptop on my lap while I'm typing away. Are you watching it? I'm watching it, and like, you're trying to be in more than one place at the same time. If I'm driving,
Right.
I'm taking voice memos. Like, I'm always multitasking and trying to do things. Um, you have to make the time. Like, I want my books to be successful. I want this. So I have to dedicate myself to the craft and do what I need to do.
Okay. And how many books have you written? Did you say 8?
Yes.
Are you on 8 books? Okay.
Mhm.
So how long on average does it take you to write a book?
On average, it takes me about a year. So when I write one, like when I publish one, I'm working on the next one. So I'm
Okay.
promoting that book while I'm working on the next one. This book that I'm working on now, it's called Mothers. I'm working on that. Um, that book is taking me the longest. Like, right now, I would say I'm almost up to 2 years on working on this book.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is because I want it to be perfect. The way that the importance of this book for me is a lot. I wanted to really represent different dynamics of mothers and to show their strength. And one thing about me when I do my books is that I don't want to stereotype us, but I want to kind of show show our strength, show our fears, show that we're more than how the media portrays us, how society portrays us. I
Mm-hmm.
want to show people that are non-black that we're just like them and that we go through the same things.
Right.
And so this specific book, it's sort of a spin-off of Black and White, The Final Moments. And Juanita Wilson, who was she's the receptionist at the law firm.
Yes.
It's her backstory.
Okay.
So you get to see a little bit of Bill in the book. You get to know about his mother. You get to learn about Juanita Wilson and a little bit of her backstory. She's a single mother. Her husband was killed by a stray bullet that hit him when he was coming from the grocery store.
Mhm.
So now she was raising her two sons on her own on a single income. They didn't have insurance, so she had to pay for that expense out of pocket, which hurt her even more. A year later, her youngest son, was diagnosed with leukemia.
Mhm.
So now she's a single mother on a single income with a able-bodied son and a sickly son. So she's trying to do that overtime. She's trying to be there at the hospital for her sickly son. She's trying to be there for her able-bodied son, who she feels is being lured by the street because she can't afford to buy him things that he really wants. It shows there's different mothers in the book, and it shows their struggles as well.
Yeah.
And that's why I want it to be perfect.
And that was going to be one of my questions. Can we expect a sequel to the book? I know Miss Juanita, she came up 2 or 3 times, but at the end, I really got a chance to see who she was and the impact she had on the whole story. So let me ask you a question. One of the things that came out is that she helped one of the main characters get a job at the law firm, okay? And towards the end, she said they owed her a favor. Will any of that be in this new book, Mother, about actually how she tied into this whole law firm?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm stopping right there then.
I'm surprised you caught that, but yeah, absolutely.
I did. So the name of the book, Defining Moments. Where did the title come up? How did you come up with the title, Defining Moments?
Well, the original title was Black and White. When I got picked up by Kensington Publishing, they wanted me to add more content to the book and for it not to be the same thing when it was re-released. So they wanted me to, you know what, can you change the title and like not change the title, but give it a sort of different title so you're not reselling the same old book. And we went with Defining Moments because I felt that was a strong title and that it was good for all of the characters because at some point there is a defining moment that helps them become who they are.
Right. So Becky, now I'm always getting characters' names mixed up. Becky, the writer, correct?
Yes.
She had a struggle in getting published because of the content of her book dealing with opposite races in relationship. Is that something that you have personal experience with in trying to get the book Black and White or Defining Moments out there initially?
Not with that book. I had that problem with Monster, my first novel. With my first novel, it started off really from one of my poems called Ugly that was in my poetry book. And I do spoken word poetry, and a lot of people enjoy that poem. So they're like, if you made a book about this, this would be something. So I tinkered with it, and I always use the excuse that, I'm not a novel writer, and I don't really have the time, but I got injured at work, and I had nothing but time. So I said, what's my excuse? I wrote that book, and, I let a couple of my friends read it and stuff like that, and they're like, this is really good. So I'm like, all right, I let a couple strangers read it, and they agreed that it was pretty good. So I started reaching out to different agents and small presses, and they were like, your book is good, but it's very dark. And I was getting a lot of rejection letters and stuff like that. And that's pretty much where the Becky experience came from, because I know what that feels like. I still keep those rejection letters, and I have a file called the Hurt Locker. And sometimes I'll reflect and read those rejection letters. keep you humble and keep you hungry.
Right. And I was thinking about some of the struggles that some of the characters in the book face based on their background and just the unknown and dealing with the struggles coming from um, a background that's. How do you feel these books are preparing you and dealing with issues that may come up with your daughters when it comes to, having two races or being biracial, and then things that they may deal with that string on from troubles or issues with family relationships? How do you think this will prepare you in dealing with that? And I'm speaking mainly on Simone, because I just feel like Simone was just lost due to the fact, with her background.
Yeah. Well, Simone is partially true. Like I said, if it sounded real, most likely.
All right. Okay.
But with my kids, like I try to prepare them now. Like there's an episode of Blackish where Bo is talking about her being biracial, and I haven't watched that episode. Alex Haley has Queen, and I have that, and sometimes you got to let them see that. You got to let them see the ugly too. And while we're trying to become a better society, while we're trying to be a stronger people, you can't forget your history. You can't forget that, and you have to take the bad with the good. So I try right now. I don't want to just throw it in their face and be like, "Oh, we're black and this is gonna happen." Like I let them see Remember the Titans, so they can see that things weren't always great. Hidden Figures, a lot of things like that, so they can see that it wasn't always great between blacks and whites, but we're trying to become better as far as relations with that, and that they're the key to that, to show that because of love they are who they are.
So as a brother, what advice could you give to other brothers, and I'm just going to say as men in general, when it comes to dating outside of the race, or even making the decision whether or not you want to date outside of your race? What advice would you give to them? Because obviously, had you just stuck to dating within your race, you wouldn't have the blessings that you have now. And sometimes, and I can personally say, there are some people who just don't even consider dating outside of the race. What advice could you give to anyone when it comes to dating and just looking for love and putting limits on love?
Well, what comes first, and this is first and foremost, is that you have to date for the right purpose. If you're dating them only because they're white or because they're black, then this is not for you. Because you're not supposed to be dating them because of a color. You're not supposed to be dating them because of a race. You're supposed to be dating them because of who they are. And if who they are is only that, then you're in the wrong relationship. You have to be strong. You have to be tough. I was in a diner with the mother of my children, and my friend was there, and we went to the diner, and the guy took forever to take our order. He didn't take us seriously at all. He didn't refill our drinks, and I was upset about that. Like sometimes the mother of my children, she didn't really see how racism can affect us until she was actually in it. Right. And I told the manager, I'm like, this sucks. I'm like, the service sucks. Everybody else got a bread basket and stuff like that, and coffee and refills, and you guys didn't do nothing for me or my table. And then he was like, yeah, whatever. It wasn't until I showed him that I was a cop that things changed. You wanted a good one. So, yeah, do you want a coffee to go? Oh, sorry about that. We didn't have any bread. And as soon as he told the lie, the door to the kitchen opened. There was a bread box on the counter, so full of bread. So I'm like, I just caught you in another lie. So with that, the mother of my children saw that, and she was like, wow, these things do happen. I got before I was a cop, I got pulled over, and the cop didn't even go to my side. He went to her and was like, are you okay? So she
Mhm.
was like, "Why are you coming to me?" So
Right.
you've seen a lot of little instances where she's like, "Wow, I didn't see it before," because she didn't have to see it before. She wasn't
Mhm.
going through it. And if you are going to be in an interracial relationship, you have to be able to deal with that, and you have to be able to talk and be comfortable with talking, because you're going to be tested. There are going to
Right.
be times when people are going to say things that you don't like. There was an instance when some people were not thrilled with our relationship, and they've made it known. Like, you can't just lash out. You have to remain calm, and you have to try to convince them that you're not the stereotypical black person. And I try to do that in life in general with everyone I meet. I try to do that with my books, because urban fiction in general has a negative view. When people hear urban fiction, they think that it's all about drug dealing and all types of negative things in the black community, and they don't realize that urban fiction is more than that. It's broader than that.
Mhm.
And that's what I try to do as a person, to try to show that we as black people are more than that. We're more than how we're perceived. So with interracial dating, one, like I said, number one, you have to be in it for the right reasons, and two, you have to be tough and strong.
Mhm. And one thing that I got from your book, which I really think is so important to the black family, to the black culture, is that the same thing that we detest to some of our um, white counterparts, I saw some of that even within the black family in the book. You know, we had a black family and a white family, and they had the same hatred towards each other's race, the opposite race. And I think sometimes it takes a novel like yours to pull the blinders back and see that we can be just as prejudiced. You know, it may be common for these comments to be made within the family, but we have to stop the cycle, because just like on their side, you know, if you hear someone say a word that's not appropriate and if you don't stand up for it, it's going to continue on. And even in the book, we had the black family just would not accept this white uh, young lady, successful, done everything she could to be accepted, but that's this we saw on her side of the family, we saw within the black family. And I thought that was a great point that you brought out in the novel.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, tell us about your other books and tell us how can we get your book if we're interested.
Um, my other books, I have Wounded,
I remember
and Wounded,
you kept pulling the books out. I was like, what?
Wounded
Uh-huh.
is actually another book that's connected to Defining Moments. And Wounded
Okay.
is about it's about Samantha, who is Simone's sister. You learn about her in the epilogue. You
Okay.
hear a little hints about her in the book, but it tells her backstory. All of my books are connected, so I wanted them to all be in the same universe, so that you know it people would want to read those too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, right now, I have Love and Happiness out. I have another book coming out in December, I think the 26th, called Daddy's Girl, or Father Sacrifice, Daddy's Girl. And that's about a father raising a biracial daughter on his own. So
Okay.
I have that book. I have Love and Happiness. Love and Happiness is a book about a woman who is cheating on her husband with two different men.
Mm.
And the point of that book was that you can love somebody and sacrifice your happiness. And, it's a play on words, because they both loved each other. But do you stay with somebody because you love them and sacrifice your happiness? Or even though, you're happy, should you hurt somebody you love? So that's what
Okay.
that book is about, love and
Okay.
happiness.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, what's available is Love and Happiness, Wounded, Defining Moments, and December, Father Sacrifice, Daddy's Girl.
Okay. And where could we get your books?
You can buy my books on Amazon, or if you reach out to me on my author page on Facebook, you can get an autographed copy. Um, I'll autograph it and send it off to you.
Okay. And are there any other books on Audible outside of the current book?
Yes. On Audible, we have Wounded is available on audiobook, and so is Love and Happiness.
Great. Okay, so we're going to move on to the game portion of our evening. While we are playing the game, I think Tony will be collecting questions from our listening audience. But we're going to play a game called the Unnamed Game, okay? And it's just a game where you just ask general questions. Again, we're just getting to know you a little better, okay? First question. What talent do you wish you had and why?
Talent I wish I had. I wish I was more handy. Like I'm decent. I'm not the handiest of handymen.
Okay, so you like Bill Cosby, fix the ceiling fan, but the light come on.
Somewhat.
If you could hang a motto or a saying in every home in the world, what would that be?
10 two-letter words. If it is to be, it is up to me.
I like it. If it is to be, it is up to me. It's a good one. What is your most sentimental possessions that you have? Singular possession.
That's a good question. That is a really good question.
Okay, we'll come back to that one. I'll let you think about it.
Okay.
Talk to us. Tell us about your favorite holiday, and then tell us why you think it's special.
Even though, and see, you got the exclusive one because I never say this. I never tell the truth about it, but I do enjoy Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that, for a month, even though I think a lot of people are faking it, but I do think for a month people are nice and pleasant, and I do like the premise of Christmas and having your family around and exchanging gifts and being positive. I do like that.
Okay, that's one of my favorite ones. What would you do if you had a magic wand?
If I had a magic wand, I don't want to sound too cliche, but I would try to fix certain problems in the world.
Okay. And we're back to that question. Your most valuable possession at this time.
All right. My most valuable possession, I would say, when is my first autographed book by Eric Jerome Dickey.
Oh, wow.
I first met him. I met him at a bookstore, Borders. And I told him, I was like, hey, I'm writing this book. And I'm like, I'm trying to get in the writing game like you. And he gave me his email address, and he said, when you write that book, you email me, and I'll be the first one to get it. I thought, he's famous. He's a well-known author. He might be blowing smoke, but I'm like, I appreciate it anyway. So when I did write my first book, I did email him, and sure enough, he bought my book and he posted that he bought it on Twitter. And then he sent me another autographed book congratulating me on writing my first novel. So I would say those two books are my most prized possessions, the ones that he signed.
That's really cool. Okay, I have another question for you. How does your book parallel with what we are experiencing today?
Well, unfortunately, it parallels a lot more than I thought would, but
Yeah.
like the things that are going on with Ebony, I feel are happening now. It's a terrible topic to talk about, but you know what? We're on the show. Let's be real. When I'm out there and I'm dealing with protesting and stuff like that, it's hard because I don't agree with anything that happened with Floyd. I don't agree with anything that happened with Aubrey. I don't agree with anything that happened with the Central Park lady, that Karen. I don't agree with the things that happened with Breonna Taylor. And a lot of times people just see the uniform and they
Right.
think that we all feel that we're detached from our race and we don't care about those situations. And that couldn't be furthest from the truth. Like, I'm really involved in trying to change that. Like, I became a cop for this reason. I hated cops. And I thought, I'm like, ugh, at least if I become a cop, there'll be at least one good one out there. So I became a cop, and then I found that there were other people who were like-minded like me, who thought the way I thought, and it changed my perspective on how I viewed them somewhat. But then I wanted to help bridge that gap on talking to communities and trying to help them with situations like that. And, you know, sometimes it's hard because sometimes people still just see the uniform. And I remember when the Eric Garner verdict came down, part of my job is to watch out for terrorism and stuff like that. So I was on a truck and I was standing around and I was looking around, and the radio host, Ed Lover, saw me and he said, "You should be ashamed of yourself, brother, working for these killers." And he's like, "You should be ashamed of yourself." And then everybody turned their attention on me. Everybody cursed at me. Everybody hated me. So you have to constantly remind yourself that it's not you that they hate, it's the uniform. But when you're here for about 16 straight hours, everybody's saying they hate you, they hope they kill you, they hope they kill your family. After a while, it starts to poke at you, and it's hard. And like, I felt that that was part of the reason why I developed Ebony's character, was because I kind of wanted to show the difference. I wanted to show it from a Black perspective of how it feels like to be a cop and to be Black. Like, I don't think a lot of people see that view. So
I thought that was profound in how you brought out Ebony's desire to be a cop. I mean, you would think with her brother being killed by a cop, you know, that she would end up hating cops. But it was such a wise statement when she said that, you know, she realized that she wanted to get involved in the system, to help be a part of the solution. And, you know, protesting is great, you know, but I think we need to do more of teaching our young people that in order to make changes, you have to get your education. You have to be a part of the system in order to help make those decisions and that's needed, you know. So I thought that was very enlightening for her to go into the police force because she wanted to make a change.
I'm like, I don't know your politics, but like, that's why I was a fan of Obama, because while people might, I'm not going to say he was a saint, and I agree with everything he did, but what I will say is that he was an educated Black man who was family oriented, and he tried to put people first. And I think that was important. I think that he was important. And even with my position now, while I might not be able to do everything I want to do in uniform as far as policy goes, when I'm not in uniform, I do my own community things. For every year, I try to take about, I'd say, 20 to 25 kids who were doing bad at school at first, and they did good at school at the end. And once they do that 180, I try to reward them by taking them to a sporting event. So I get like field level seats, and I take them to a game, And I want them to see that when you do well, even though it might not come right away, you will be rewarded. And I want to show that being smart is cool because,
Mhm.
to be honest, we have a lot of things that show that ignorance is bliss and to stick with that. When you listen to a lot of rap songs, they don't encourage you to go to school or to try to be more than your block. And that's what I am trying to encourage. Um, that's how I look at it, at least.
Okay. Makes sense. Very good analogy. Okay, we're going to go to, we have some questions from our viewing audience. First question is, what are your favorite authors?
All right, that's a broad, that's a lot of authors.
We got Richard Wright. We got
Richard Wright, Eric Jerome Dickey. I have to say, Zane is one.
Okay.
Carl Weber is another. Um, let's see. I gotta shout out my author friends. Christiana Harrow. I gotta say Christiana Harrow, Christine Hazel, Kennedy DeVoe, Miss Robson, Jerice Owens. I gotta shout them out because they're out with me. I have a lot. I like to read a lot because for me, to be a stronger author, you have to read different types of styles.
Right.
You have to see what makes them successful, like what are they doing to. Everybody has a skill. Everybody has something they're good at, and I try to learn from them. Like for me, I really like the way Eric Jerome Dickey does his pacing. With Carl Weber, I really like the way his dialogue feels down to earth and realistic, and I like that. With Zane is the queen of erotica. So like, if you're gonna write something like that, you want to make sure you're on point. Everybody has something. I try to learn from everybody, so I'm constantly reading something.
Okay.
And I would say those are my favorites.
Next question from Latif Phillips. What is your favorite book? I think you already mentioned it, but share with us your favorite book.
My favorite book is Native Son.
Native Son, Richard Wright.
Over everything. That's my favorite one.
I'm a Black Boy was my favorite.
Yeah.
Okay, next question, Wanda Courtney. I love a good read. What is your love language when generating your craft? Good question. What is your love language when generating your craft?
You mean like what's on my mind when I'm doing it? Like, what do you mean? As far as love language.
Okay, we're going to give her time to elaborate on that question, and we're going to go to the next question. If you could give an interracial couple inspiration for navigating in today's society, what would you tell them?
We touched on this earlier, but I would say, first and foremost, make sure that you're in the relationship for the right reasons. Make sure you're not dating them just because of their race. Make sure you're not dating them just because of their color. Make sure that you're dating them because you genuinely love them and who they are and how they are. Make sure that you're strong enough to handle the trials and tribulations that you're going to go through, because you will be tested.
Mm-hmm.
And make sure that you communicate and you're open and honest. Don't hold anything in. If you feel a certain way, like there will be times when maybe one of you will say something that is uncomfortable, and you can't hold it in. You have to be like, you know what, I really didn't appreciate how you said this or the way it sounded, and explain to them your feelings and why you felt that way.
Okay, Wanda is back. What or who inspires you when generating your craft?
Oh, people in general, like, and it could come from anything. I could be sitting on a park bench or something and hear people talking about something, and it could spark an idea. I had an ex-girlfriend who was raised by her father, and we still talk to this day. And I had this idea in my mind because I'm a father, and I had finished writing Love and Happiness, and I was talking to a group, and I asked the group, I said, is it possible for a woman to raise a boy to be a man? And they said, absolutely. Women have been doing that since the beginning of time. So I said, in the same breath, is it possible for a man to raise a girl to be a woman? And 99% of the group was like, no. So I said, there it is.
Right. Right.
So I wanted to, one, I felt that there wasn't any positive books when it came to fathers. I didn't feel like there was many positive books when it came to Black fathers.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted, if I didn't see it, if I don't know about them, I wanted to write one. So I wrote A Father's Sacrifice, which is coming out in December.
Okay.
And that's how I come out with my stuff.
Okay. Looking forward to that. Next question. Do you have a publicist?
Do I have a publicist? No. In reality, I totally need one. But no, right now I don't have one.
So you're self-published?
No, I'm signed with Kensington Publishing. Like a publicist is like they would talk to different like media and stuff like that for you.
Oh, okay. Okay. I need a job, part-time job, maybe. No, I'm just kidding.
I'll hire you.
Any other questions? Now, you made a statement earlier about communication, how important it is, especially if you're in an interracial relationship and communicating. So I know within the book, again, I'm bad with the names, and I want to say, was it Becky that got into it with her boyfriend's
Gabby?
Gabby?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I want to say, I don't know, did she call her a black bee, or what did she say?
Yeah.
Okay. So I thought there was going to be a little bit more conversation regarding, that outburst, because, that's the thing that you hear all the time. Okay, I don't know if I want to date out of my race, because all it takes, and then her mom even said the same thing, I was waiting on you to get mad enough to make some type of, was there a reason why you didn't expound on that, or you just felt like that was just?
Because she in her mind, she already won. She already did what she accomplished, like what she came to accomplish. She wanted to get her to break out of her being prim and proper and to lash out, and she did. So
she gained respect.
Didn't need to do anymore. She already goaded her into doing what she wanted.
Yeah, and I saw that's when she got that backbone. It's like she dropped the mic and walked off, and from there it was like she felt free.
Yeah.
That was it. Any more questions from our? I'm sorry, I'm trying to read and make sure we don't have anything else. Okay, so again, tell us where we can get your books, and also the books that are currently available.
All right. You can get these. You can get those on Amazon.
Go ahead. Tell us about
Do we have any more questions?
We don't have any. Oh, wait. Yes, we do. How do you find the time to write all these great books, aim a great career, and be an awesome dad? And I think we elaborated earlier, but share that with me.
Well, one, I gotta say shout out to Angel Cruz, because that's my old partner.
Hey, Angel.
So like, again, you have to want it. So for me, like you're doing voice memos. I have the Note 10, so I'm doing voice memos and stuff like that when I'm going into work.
Mm-hmm.
If I get a free moment, I take out my little stylus and I start writing. I'm constantly like writing little notes too. Like I have a notebook, and let me see if I have it around. Oh, I don't, but I have a notebook and I write down little notes and stuff for dialogue. And when I get home, I type it into the computer, or if I get a free moment, I type it into the computer. A big thing that I use is Google Docs. I love Google Docs. Google Docs automatically saves. So as soon as I start typing into it, I don't have to worry about it freezing up and stuff like that. So big fan of Google Docs.
Mhm.
And yeah, I just try to put in the work whenever I can.
Okay. And then we have a OD Amago. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. Amagro. What can we expect next from you, Ben?
The next book that I'm really trying to have out by for next Mother's Day, because again, it's important to me, is Mothers. The book is actually going to be two books. Mothers is going to be volume one. Is going to be a spinoff of Defining Moments, Black and White, and Mothers volume two is going to be sort of a continuation of A Father's Sacrifice, Daddy's Girl. You see, um, the mother from A Father's Sacrifice, she abandons Lynn and the father, Nick. So he has to raise his biracial child on his own. And Mother's Volume 2, she realizes that, well, 30 years later, she realizes that she made a horrible mistake and she's trying to, become a part of her life.
Right.
Now, here's where the dynamic happens is that Lynn, the main character, is now finding out that she's pregnant. So she's about to be she's an expecting mother. Her biological mother is trying to be in her life. Her surrogate mother, which is her aunt, does not like that her mother now wants to be in her life. She looks at it as, I was there to change her diapers. I was there for her first heartbreak. I was there to give her milk and feed her. Where were you? And now you want to come when all work is done? So it shows the different dynamics of mothers: a biological mother, expecting mother, and a surrogate mother.
Mm-hmm.
So
that should be good. Okay. We don't have any more questions. I do have one more question. I keep coming back with questions, huh?
As many as you want. Okay.
What was the process of the whole audiobook, translating a novel to an audiobook? What all did it take to find the various readers for your book? I mean, was that a hard task? Or tell us about that process of actually getting an audiobook recorded.
Well, with the publisher, they picked that one. But when I was independent, you do listen to different voices to see which ones fit. So you do want it to kind of sound like how the character sounds in your head, and you want it to really, you want somebody who, you don't want it to be monotone. You want them to really have an expressive voice and to make your book pop and come to life. If they are just reading it and it has no emotion to it, that could translate into readers and listeners not enjoying your book. So you really have somebody that is, expressive.
Mm-hmm. You did a good job in, well, your publishing company did a good job in picking the correct voices for that novel. I thought it was very, a day and a half. That's how I spent my day. Right, a day and a half. So very, very good book. I would advise anyone to go out there and get the book. It's a very good book, especially with everything that's going on. Because I'm like, okay, how did he? My thing was, how were you able to get this book out so quickly? Because it looked like it was written for a time as this, but I see that it was republished. Okay, smart move, smart marketing. Okay, so tell us once.
We didn't plan this. We didn't plan for this. I didn't think that tragedies like these would happen around the time that the book came out. But sometimes things happen for a reason. And
that's true.
Maybe it needed to come out now because hopefully it helps to. I can't even say fix anything, but hopefully it can help soothe certain feelings.
And I think it'll help humanize people of the opposite race, because right now there's so much hatred and resentment where we're prejudging before we even get to know a person, you know. And I think that's what we got to keep in mind, is that we got to treat people the way we want to be treated, regardless of skin color, you know, because we all have the same color blood running in our skin. We feel the same pain, you know. Okay.
Yep.
Have another question. Your books,
Okay.
and this is from Nicole Marie. Your books and characters so powerful. Would you consider having them made into a movie? Into movies? Good question, Nicole.
What's up, Nicole? Absolutely. That is the dream of all dreams in reality. Me and my agent and Tice, we're actually working on a script now for The Final Moments. So I'm really trying to push for that, because I feel like right now you got to strike while the iron's hot, and seeing that this book is fitting for these times, I think it being a movie would actually have a huge impact on, again, helping with the times. So that is a major goal for me.
Yeah. Well, remember your girl. I could play a bad Gabby. Actually, I could even play. Oh, let me stop. But yeah, just remember. Let me know when you have an opening cast. I'm a little thespian. I call myself a thespian.
Nice.
Okay. So we're gonna wrap it up, Ben. It has been a pleasure speaking with you on today. Maybe in the future. Wait. They don't let us go. That's okay. Another question from Francine Knight. Hello, Miss Knight. Have you ever experienced writer's block? And if so, what's your process of overcoming it?
Oh, this is a great question.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So when I do have writer's block, one, the key to breaking through writer's block is to constantly write. I know it sounds like what? Constantly write, but you have to write. And the thing is, before it gets published, like, it's not getting published yet. So you're writing whatever, and you'll keep what you like. You'll throw out what you don't like. Read other books, but not in your genre. Like, sometimes you just need to clear your head, and you can't constantly think about the topic that you're thinking about. So if you're writing romance, read science fiction. If you're writing urban fiction, read another fiction book. But read and constantly write. You have to constantly write, because sometimes you'll be like, oh man, what am I going to do next? And you feel like you're not making sense, but then you're like, you know what, this kind of works, and it helps. I remember with this book, Defining Moments, Black and White, I had wrote about 5 good chapters, and I'm like, all right, I'm in it. And then Microsoft Word froze, and I was like, no. And then the computer started, and I all 5 of those chapters. So
Oh my God.
yeah, and it didn't save. So I had to do it all over again. But like, I had to write through that. I'm like, okay, well, I don't remember everything I wrote, but here's the gist of it. And like, you keep what you have and go in. So that's a good question. That's a great question.
So when you're writing, and I mean, you may have a chapter or 2 that you finish, and you decide, you know what, this is not fitting. This is not going in the direction that I want to go in. Do you actually dump that, or do you just set it aside and may pick it up for another novel or use it somewhere else? How?
That's a good question too. Like I have a notebook full of like things. I swear, if anybody found this notebook, they think I'm like completely crazy. But I write a whole bunch of different lines. Sometimes I might have some lines for dialogue. Sometimes I might have a line for description or something like that, and I'll write those in the book. Then sometimes, if I write something and I don't like it, I'm like, I might use that for something else, and I'll save that. And you don't always have to dismiss something that you don't use. It can always fit for something else.
You can see that. Okay,
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put you on the spot. Earlier you said you did portrait. You the portrait writer, and you do spoken word. You got anything you want to share with us real quick? Let's
Yeah, all right. Hold on. Let me find something that I think would be good. Let's see. All right. Like Erica Badu said, I'm an artist, so I'm sensitive about my stuff. All
Okay.
right, let's see. All right.
We'll give you a little time. Just to reiterate, if you're interested in his books, if you will email him, his social media information is scrolling across the screen. If you email him directly and purchase books from him, he will. You did say you autographed it, right? Did you say you
Yes.
autographed those?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. Good.
All right.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah, this one was about Obama.
Okay.
All right. At first glance, I thought he didn't have a chance. I felt his mixed race was another opposition he would face in the political race. Despite the color of his face, history took place. His win restored my faith. I'm sure he never expected how many lives were positively affected by him just being elected. After the election, I knew we were headed in a better direction, but it remains a mystery why some want to blemish his spot in history. I find it strange how people fear change. The news criticizes his every move to make him hesitant. They try to deny that he was born a resident to refute that he is president. The media screams and shouts about the bailouts, but these rich snobs don't realize how he saved jobs. They stop remembering that before him, our economy was hemorrhaging. They try to negate the fact that he ended the war in Iraq. It's nonsense how the process for progress is blocked by Congress. When they don't listen and oppose his position on healthcare, the media doesn't play fair when they depict him as a promoter of welfare or with the things they say to downplay Obamacare. They influence the public to hate it because he made it. So they go the route of twisting every word out of his mouth to make people doubt, causing some to have a deaf ear and fear when they don't understand what it's really about. I get disgusted when Republicans say he can't be trusted. He gets blamed for things he was stuck with and still addresses the problems of the public when other politicians wouldn't want to touch it. Some people would detest it if he were reelected. They unrealistically expected that given a turn to use one term, all of our problems would be corrected. While they use him as an scapegoat, I see what he's done to his country afloat. I have hope. Obama, he has my vote. So it's been a while, Rusty.
Yeah, I got you. Very good. We have another question that have come in. Thank you for sharing that with us.
No problem.
Do you ever use friends or family members without using government names for storylines? That's by Wanda Courtney.
Yes. So how I do it, because one, you don't want to be sued. You're mixing you're mixing different things. So your certain things that might have happened to one person, you change it somewhat. Like you keep the gist of it. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
For example, Simone is based off of, I would say, a good 3 people that I know.
Okay.
I won't say what they are, who they are, but she's based off about 3 people. Um, the man is based off of certain family members, and
Mm-hmm.
Because it's real, it's easier to write about it passionately
Mm-hmm.
because you understand the way it works and how it feels. So if you like, you can't write about it if you haven't lived it. That's what I mean. So like, if you know how that feels, it's easier to be more authentic with your writing and to um, be more realistic and heartfelt.
Very good. That's a good answer. Okay, then. We're going to end the evening. I'm going to ask that you share once again with our viewers the best way to reach you, your social media, and also where they can purchase your books.
All right. Yep. You can find me on Facebook at author Ben Burgess Jr. I'm on Instagram as Benny B15 and Twitter Ben_Burgess_Jr. and on Amazon and wherever books are sold, you can get Wounded in Defining Moments, either books, or you can order them from me directly at my Facebook author page at author Ben Burgess Jr. And that's where they can be found.
Thank you, Ben. It has totally been a pleasure. We're going to ask everyone to make sure you support our brother here. Great books. 2 books on Audible, right? I know a lot of our 3 books on Audible. So those of you that have long commutes or you sitting at home while you're cleaning a house, you can have a book on listening. So also get those books from Audible. Join us next week, same place, same time, where we will be chatting it out with author Mark Grossberg. He's the author of The Best People. Have a good evening.
Right,
and remember, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was like, thank you again for having me on the show.
Thank you. It's been wonderful. Remember, reading gives us someplace to go when we have to stay where we are. Stay safe and stay put if you can. Have a good evening. Thanks again.